Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. Today I'd like to share something that I really stumbled upon on my self-love journey, something that I find is super important for our own personal relationship with ourselves and with with everybody, including our loved ones in our life. And it's called healthy boundaries. So being a people pleaser and being that person that just always said yes to everything, yes, because I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Or then eventually it just goes, I said yes just so I'd be busy all the time so I didn't have to have a relationship with myself. And that really led me down the path of one, not really knowing who I was anymore. Like, who is Jody? Like, I had so many different personalities going on. I had no idea. Like, I'm not talking about multiple personalities per se, but like I would literally become a certain person with whatever person I was with, like what they needed out of me or what I thought they needed. And I definitely shared this in a different episode about being a people pleaser. But then I also always said yes to everything because I just didn't want to hurt people's feelings. And again, it let me down. It led me down the path of being burnt out and exhausted and just cranky and angry all the time because I wasn't living my life. I wasn't living life on my terms. I became so disconnected with myself. So the first thing I did, and I didn't even know what it was I was creating boundaries for myself. And I had to figure out what it is I wanted in my life, what I personally needed, and I started doing that. And I started doing more things that brought me joy, that lit me up. And then in really what came down was, well, I couldn't fit everything into my life, right? Like you can only do so much with 24 hours in a day. We all have them. We all have the same amount. So I started having to say no to things. And it's like, oh, like it didn't feel good. But I started saying no because I knew that this other thing made me feel happy, brought me joy. And I slowly started to do it more and more. And then the more I did it, the easier it got. Because it's like, no, this is what I need and want right now. And it's not saying that other people in my life aren't important. I love them to pieces. But if we don't take care of ourselves first, we don't have anything left to give those people in our life. And it really, the more I did it, the more I realized that yes, like I can do something for me and at the same time do other things with other people that bring me joy. But if I'm not doing something that doesn't bring me joy, those other people are going to feel it down the road. And then eventually I'm just going to be this cranky person that no one wants to be around anyways. So it's about setting those healthy boundaries. And I really, really think it started with setting boundaries for myself. Because if we don't know what it is we want or need in our life and with ourselves, how are we going to set those boundaries? And then as I got into years and years later, when I became an empowerment coach, my training actually was like there's a lot of it about setting healthy boundaries, and I read a lot of books, and I'm like, oh, and I actually started creating better, healthier boundaries with the people in my life. And that also was around holidays and get-togethers and things. I find that some people love tradition and they hang on to it for dear life, even though it's not serving them any longer. And I had to take a step back and let my own family, my parents and my siblings know, like, this isn't serving me anymore. It doesn't feel right to me and I need to change it. And it's okay if they wanted to keep doing certain things, but to me, it didn't no longer served me. And it's about honoring the other people in the relationship, but it's also having those conversations and be like, look, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, or I want to do it differently and things like that. People can't read your minds. And I know it's so tough, so tough to start a conversation. And I also find that even though I have changed so much over the years, people in my life still see me as the old Jody, the person that I was 20 years ago. And it's like, you have to remember, like, they're their own person. And I have to remember I'm mine. They might not see me as the new person that I have become, but it's understanding that they are who they are too. So it's holding people in a loving space while also holding you in a loving space and honoring you and your amazingness. So yes, it's challenging to have those conversations. And your boundaries may be ever changing because you are ever changing. You're not the same person you were, especially if you're listening to this podcast, because you have been drawn to this where you want to have a loving relationship with yourself. Anybody down this path is always on the lookout to how to better themselves, how to really reconnect with themselves. And if you're doing that, that means you're on this self-discovery, self-love journey, and you're going to always be growing and expanding and ever changing. And it's okay. And it's just the people around you might not understand that or be even afraid of that. And that's okay. Set them over there and to the side and just love them from afar if you need to. And that was a big thing I learned too. When I was going through a really tough time in my life, I actually couldn't have the tough conversations. I didn't have it in me to have the strength to say no. So I had to start loving people from afar. It's just like, if, they can't do this for me, I'm like, I need to just love you from afar right now. I don't have that strength to have that open communication. And then obviously when I got the strength back up, it's, to have those tough conversations, or, it doesn't have to be tough, but it usually does feel tough in the time. And especially, like I said, if those people see you as a person that you maybe were 5, 10, 20, 25 years ago. And they might just not see you as that person, or see you as coming at them with arguments and stuff. And when you have a conversation with people, and that's why I had to hold some people from a distance, is because I couldn't do it without yelling or screaming and getting angry. And it's not a great way to set healthy boundaries. It's about doing it in a loving, caring way. And that's why I had to just, love from afar. And it's just honoring who you are. So there's this beautiful quote I want to share, and it's from Bree Brown. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. And that was a huge, huge, hard thing for me to realize, because I was a people pleaser for as long as I can remember. I wanted to say yes to everybody because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And it can be really scary when you start. But it's like anything. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Now, obviously, there's going to be tougher ones. Like if it's a parent or somebody really close and loving that you need to set boundaries with, it might feel really hard. But you always have to start with a loving space. Get grounded in love. Get grounded in who you are. And whenever you focus on love, it is so much easier to do things because you're in a place of love. One of the biggest things for me I had to overcome was what I would do. I don't think I do this much anymore. I'm trying to think. No, I don't do it much anymore. But what I used to do was, before I'd run into somebody that might trigger me, or I still had those boundary settings that I needed to place, I would have a conversation with somebody in my head before I even got face to face with them. And it usually would go down a negative path. So here I am already stating that it's going to start out negative. So I've already started the relationship on a not so great note, right? Not great at all. So it's stop having those conversations in your head before they happen, because you don't know what the other person's going to say. We're putting things in our head, just like we're not the same person we were, a week ago, a month ago, 5, 10 years, whatever you're looking at. That person may also not be the same person. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But we can't hold them being the person that they were the last time we saw them. So it's just trying to let go of your expectations of the conversation. And that's why I say it's really important. And what I've found to help me is really focus on love. Go inward, send yourself some love, remember who you are, why it's important for this boundary, and what you really need and want, and come from that place of love. And it really has helped. And having ended those conversations in my head is super, super good, and has opened up space for more loving, more grounded conversations instead of me already being angry at the person before I see them. So it's really important to figure out where you're coming from. Like that was, for me, that was my thing, having those conversations ahead of time. So that's why it's so important for the first healthy boundary and things is you. You know, what do you need and want? What are your things? What are things that maybe you can stop doing that are maybe not so healthy either? It's just having a look at yourself first and then going outward. When we build that solid foundation of a relationship with ourselves, everything else is more like everything else can be built stronger because it's on that solid foundation. You know, you wouldn't build a house, you know, on the foundation hasn't set. Like say you're pouring concrete and you're like, oh, let's just build this house and it hasn't even settled yet. Or you don't even build it. You just, you know, put sticks up or whatever. This metaphor is going crazy sauce. So you wouldn't, you know, start with the building of the roof. You would start with the bottom and think of yourself as the base of the house and start from there. So get grounded in your boundaries. As the holiday season approaches, I'm recording this and it comes out in the month of December. Maybe you're listening to it right as it is released, or maybe you're listening to it later. Healthy boundaries, you know, we need them every day of the year, in my opinion. And over the holiday season, though, it's even really more important because we can get lost in the hustle and bustle of people's expectations. And it's really important to figure out what it is you want to feel and create and live throughout the holiday season or even throughout your whole life. So then you can say yes to the things that light you up, yes to the things that are going to excite you and make you happy and go, oh, that was a great time. Or, you know, oh, I'm so glad I did that. And not leave you exhausted and burnt out so much at the end of something. So this goes for any time, but like also in the holiday season. I had to be really focused over one holiday season where it's like, I grew up with families that we have 3 different Christmas gatherings. You know, I'd have it on my dad's side and then my mom's side. You know, we get together with the grandparents, aunts and uncles on one side and then the other side. And then we'd have our immediate family too. So that was 3 Christmases, like in a matter of 3 days. And then I'd go back to work and I'd be like, did I not get any days off? Like I'd be more exhausted than I would if I just worked. And I had to realize that something needed to change because I didn't want to walk away hating Christmas or even spending time with my family. So I had to be like, whoa, we need to figure something else out because I can't just go nonstop for 3 days. And in fact, like eating 3 different meals over the holidays was too much too, in my opinion. So it's figuring out what you need and want and adjusting accordingly. And for me, I was working crazy hours at the time that I discovered I needed to change. And like I would have some time off there and then I did nothing for days after the holidays. And I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. So it's really getting clear. And actually the biggest change for me, and it was actually the easiest, was when I had my daughter. It was like, I want to be home for Christmas. That was my main thing. It's like I'm starting a family and I want my husband, my daughter, and I to just be together. And that really, it kind of helped create a new routine because we had a new baby and we got to start those new traditions. But just because maybe you don't have a new baby or new something happening doesn't mean you can't change tradition. You can't come up with your own. You can. Anything is possible. Just get clear on your why, what you need, and how you want to feel. Because for me, I know I just don't want to feel burnt out anymore. For a while ago, I was on Facebook way too much and I was posting nonstop because I'm excited of where we're living now. And I was just like, yes, like I just want to share it with everybody because we live so far away from our family and friends. That was me taking just sharing, and I loved it. And at the end, I'm like, I'm just on social media too much. Like I was, commenting back, and I felt like I was tied to my phone because I was constantly commenting back on every share and just trying to keep up with everything. And I was exhausted and I didn't feel good. So that was when I realized I needed to set healthy boundaries with myself and hit that pause button and be like, I don't want to be on Facebook every hour of my day. I don't even want to be on it every day of the week. So I personally had to set new boundaries with myself and be like, okay, I'm going to set a certain time of the day. So that's what I mean when I needed to set healthy boundaries with myself first. We can come into little things that we're not even aware of until we stop and reflect of like how much time we're, wasting on our phones. Like how many times are you staring at your phone? Even today before recording, I found myself looking at my phone. I'm like, oh, what app should I open? I'm like, Jody, what are you doing? Like, you're just wasting time. Like, do something that makes you feel good, not just wasting time. Because we can fall into that habit of like, oh, what should we do? And it's like, well, me holding my phone make me feel good about something? Probably not. It's, there is something really cool in Marie Forleo's book too that came out the other year. Everything's figure outable. We waste so much time at looking at email. So like she even recommends, only looking at your email X amount of times or whatever time of day. And I forgot that this week. So it's just remembering those things. So get clear on who you are, what you want. If what you like cruising on Facebook or on other social media apps brings you joy, and be honest with yourself here, does it or does it not? If it does though, by all means, like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But for me, I was just doing it because I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was procrastinating recording this podcast. Who knows? I can't remember when I was doing it. But I just know I was like, wait, like I'm just falling into a habit of looking at my phone. So like, wait a second, Jody. Like you can lose a lot of time on, yes, I have conversations with myself. You can lose a lot of time, just rechecking emails and hanging out on social media and things like that. So it's just being aware of those things and just taking some time for you. It's much needed to reconnect with who you are. And I'll be the first to say, like, it is easy to fall off that. Like I've, between our move here and even like now I'm still trying to find that new kind of structure and things. And yes, things switch up and, holidays happen. And actually we've always celebrated Remembrance Day, but in Ontario, it wasn't a holiday. I guess for government workers, it was. Like my dad always has it off. But for us, like it was just a normal day that we remembered, everybody that, sacrificed their life and their time and their family time for us. And here in BC, it's a holiday. Like schools are closed, the offices are closed and everything. And we're like, we just found that less than a week before it was happening. We're like, whoa. So life is happening. Life is flowing. Surprises happen and things. But that doesn't mean that you don't deserve the love and awesomeness from yourself and from others. So if you find your life is in a little bit of a whirlpool or you're, swirling around or not sure, take a pause and just take a minute to reflect. It doesn't have to be, a whole day. It can be an hour, even 15, 20 minutes. Take some time to yourself and just connect to how you're feeling and like what needs to change or, be added or taken away for you to really have a peaceful, loving life because you matter. So, set some healthy boundaries with yourself and with others and just see how that feels. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.